Dave Palumbo here with Chris Aceto for an RX Muscle news update. The Tampa Pro 2021 Open Class has let out. Chris, IAIN Valliere has won the event. He is going back to the Olympia. As predicted, he came in here and he took home the victory. The question is, how good of a victory was it for him on first impression? What'd you think of IAIN?
I think it's his best ever look by far. I think he looks bigger than he was last year for sure, and I think his condition was better than it was overall last year. Or last year he might have done the New York Pro. Yes, he's and he had good fullness, which is really what he needs more than if going forward, let's say from last year, like how can you make what can I improve? I think on his physique, fullness is more important than like mind-boggling condition, but he was fuller here than last year for sure.
Right.
And his condition is just better here than it was last year.
Is he a guy like a Dennis Wolf that if he comes in too flat, he loses some of the wow from his physique?
Yes. You know what? I think last year, like I was critical of his condition when he won whatever it is that he won. I think New York Pro or whatever show he won. And
he got beat by Hunt. He got beat by Hunter, if you remember last year.
Yes, and then the next week, yes, he won a show. And I think in both of those shows, he looked good, but I think here the added size helps give the illusion of more condition. And outside, remove the added size, he definitely had better condition here. So not only did he get bigger, but his condition improved. I mean, he didn't have these glutes and hams and back detail last year. So that's all improved. And it's part of the improvement is more development. I think he's got better developed hamstrings here. He's got better mid and lower back, but his condition here is, for that size is spot on. Even his arms are bigger from behind this year, I think.
Yeah, I think people are a little critical of him because they were expecting, and you said this before. I mean, you're probably one of the people who puts down the internet as much because, when you put pictures up on Instagram, it's not a true representation because it's like putting a gym photo of you in a tank top. You could look like Dennis James looked like Mr. Olympia in a tank top in the gym. And, I'm sure if you put that picture on Instagram, people would be like, how did this guy not win the Olympia? And so, but I think this was a good stage look for him. And I think you're right in the sense that he had the fullness with conditioning. He's still the most conditioned guy or pretty close to the most conditioned guy. Maybe Phil Klahar was a little tighter, but structurally, he's really good. And I think when he fills out that big frame of his, it's impressive looking,
Well, the number one calling card as he has is the frame. It's like the Dennis Wolf is a perfect example. Dennis Wolf had shows that, when he was round and full, even if his condition wasn't spot on, people loved him and the judges loved him, as opposed to when he tried to like dial it in and bring it like, a super tight look on that frame. It's so wide and big. It acts as a detriment chasing condition. So for someone who's big and wide, it's always important to try to keep your fullness. Of course, the criticism is when you try to keep the fullness, that's the same thing Dennis would sometimes, experience as people say, well, you got to bring it in tighter, So I think for this show, I think this is
a compromise.
Yeah. It's a perfect spot on way to come in. He's, big, full and hard.
Phil Klahar, I worked with him in the past, and this guy has the ability to get ridiculously tight and shredded, and that's his calling card. He has good shape, but obviously, I don't think he's as complete as IAIN Valliere. And a lot of people thought, well, maybe Phil could win the show because he was really, really tight, especially from behind. But I think at the end of the day, I mean, it comes down to muscle size and structure at some point. And I think that's why IAIN was able to secure the win unanimously.
Yeah, no, I thought Phil looked tremendous. Like his back shots, the condition was like absolutely outstanding, and from the front and from the side.
Yeah, he's improved too. He's definitely improved.
He's bigger, he's harder, and this is his best. And I think that if IAIN was like quote not full enough or just not as tight enough, Phil could have landed in the first spot. But I think it was a very well-deserved second place, and his condition was really, really outstanding. I mean, he was super tight in the back shots, like really tight. And this shot you put up too, side chest, he's super tight. Pecs are striated, glutes and hams are like really dry. And I know these pictures don't really show what people's true condition is. So, he looks super tight here, but, I'm sure in real life he's even tighter.
He's a guy who works his butt off, and you know what? He lives it. I mean, he doesn't care. You can make him suffer as much as you want, and I'm sure he worked this whole off season on making improvements to his physique, which I see he did, and he brought the conditioning, and he needed to. And you know what? He was rewarded for it. I think I love to see guys get rewarded for hard work and bringing something special to the stage. Let's face it, every guy in this pro lineup is genetically superior to the average person. So all these guys have their own gifts. But if you can, make your gift or bring your gift to the stage at its best, then you get rewarded for it. You can't come away from the show with bad feelings. I'm sure he wanted to win, but at the end of the day, he knows he was his best. So I think this was a great second place for him.
Well, the fact of the matter is, in Chicago, technically on paper, he got smoked. I think he was like out of the top 10, and I think he was overlooked there. And when you get overlooked, it happens sometimes. When you get overlooked, it's just hard to bounce back to another show mentally for a lot of people. Because what happens is they have 1,000 different opinions from 1,000 different people that say, you know what, Phil, what you need to do is this, and half the people say fuller, half the people say harder. Some people say fuller and harder. Some people say, you're coming in too soft, too tight. You're flat because you were bigger 2 weeks out. So for him to bounce back like that from a bad placing, not a bad showing. It was a good showing in terms of looking great, but it's a great bounce back, and it's good to see. It's great to see, like, solidly in the mix of first place, because the judges obviously looked at him and couldn't deny that type of condition that he brought.
Now, third place, Charles Griffin. This guy gets bigger every single year. He gets improved. He has a tremendous amount of mass on his body. And for me, I always thought, he's got that very short torso, almost like a Kai Greenish, like short torso. And I think that can sometimes hurt him a little bit, just because maybe he doesn't have the crazy V taper of some of these guys. But what was your overall impression of Charles here on a scale 1 to 10?
He's up there, like an 8 or so. I think just what happens is he's going against Ian, who's very wide.
Yeah.
And a bigger guy, and he's going up against Phil, who just brought in, his lifetime best dense. Phil was just dense city. So you're the odd guy out. You're not as wide as IAIN VALLIERE, and you're not as dense, even though you are a very dense bodybuilder. You're not as dense as Phil. So, you land as high as you can in a show like this. It's a deep show. Third place is nothing to sneeze at. He looked great, and I think he's markedly better than what he was the last couple shows. I don't know if he had injuries a couple of years ago or peaking problems, but he looked really good here.
I think his size and fullness were the best they've ever been. He definitely got bigger from the last time we saw him. Yes. I think that he could have been a little drier, maybe in the glutes. I mean, that and a hamstring. That's being like super picky. But I think with his structure, because he does have the short torso, if he was a little harder, I think he would have had a little more wow to his physique. And I think he might have snuck by Phil. I don't think he would have beaten Ian, but I think he could have snuck by Phil if he was tighter.
Possibly. Yeah, no, he possibly could have, snuck by Phil. It's tough to say because
he's got more muscle than Phil. You know what I mean?
He does, but the torso, on the front double and the ab shot, that type of condition that Phil was in. I don't know even if this guy was even tighter, if it would have put him ahead of Phil. Possibly.
Let's talk about fourth place Max Charles. Because Max, has been on the upsurge. I thought the last show we talked about, his physique and how he actually might have been the best he'd ever been. Compromised for upper body, low body. I thought his legs looked really good here, but what was missing from Max, and why is he out of this top three?
He's The other three guys were better. Ann's bigger, with better condition. Phil has got better condition. And
Griffin's got better legs.
And Griffin's got better legs and better glutes and hams. So, I mean, this was a really tough lineup.
Was Max better or worse?
Yeah, 2 weeks ago, I think he's better in Chicago.
Yeah, I thought he was better in Chicago. That's the point I was trying to make.
I just think he had a better combo of leanness or lack of water retention there, and which could have given the illusion there of fullness, but he just looked better there, fuller, tighter. I mean, he looked good here, but
I think his back shot was pretty good. His hamstrings and glutes were pretty good here.
Yeah.
Something I feel like maybe he's a little flat. Maybe I don't know. Is it possible? I don't know. His upper body doesn't look as much. Doesn't look like it's
well.
As wow.
Yeah, I think isn't that the way it is? So this is the reason why. Let's say when Phil Klahar gets on paper smoked 2 weeks ago, and you get a million different opinions. Right. Max, people probably, judges included, said, bring in the glutes and hams, brought him in, but the back thickness is like not as thick as it was 2 weeks ago. Right. So it's like a trade-off.
Right. It's fullness versus,
it's fullness, it's, unless you're like Coleman, you know what I mean?
We have everything, right? Ronnie had everything. Like he can get everything.
I mean, he did look at that. If you look at that picture, he did what he needed to do.
This is the best. I mean, from the back I've ever seen Max Charles. I got to tell you,
it's a good balance of glutes, hams, back. But I think he was better in the back from the trunks up 2 weeks ago, and
Let's talk Mo Shaban in 5th place. What'd you think? Give me a comparison of the last couple times we've seen him to this time, and did he deserve? Was 5th place the right call for him?
He could have placed higher. I mean, it all shows he can place higher. That's a crazy front lat spread.
Yeah. What would you like to see improve on him? Because he's really good. I think he's really good. I think he's one of the most underrated guys.
I think he's very underrated.
Yeah.
I mean, that front lat spread, it looks like, 5-6 version of Ian's with better legs.
Yeah. I mean,
so
I'm going to pull his back up. His back shot is unbelievable, too.
He's really, really good and really underrated.
I mean, that back double was really good. I mean,
Jose would say that they're judging him on height, stature.
Is he short? I'm not sure. I didn't know.
Yeah, he's one of the shorter guys up there. He's outstanding. I mean, everyone's got that. You can nitpick and say, could his back be tighter? I guess. I mean, I suppose so, but. His side chest is outrageous. Front double, front lat spread are outrageous. Most muscular is outrageous. A lot of size, density, volume per square inch.
Yeah.
That sounds like a guru formula.
I want to give a little props to Sung Chul Lee, who was in 6th place. I don't know. Was this his pro debut? I'm not sure.
No, he competed in Romania, and people loved him there. They loved him there too.
He's really good. I mean, this is a good front double for him. I think he made some great improvements from last year too.
Yeah, he's really good. He's really good, and he needs a little bit more muscle maturity. I think he can be tighter from behind, but really good.
I think we're going to see a lot from this guy in the future if he continues.
Shoulders, legs, arms, you name it. He's got it. He's got wide front
calves, as Lonnie Teeper would say, right?
Yep. Wide front lat spread, you wouldn't tell there. It looks a little, possibly narrow in the front double, but he's very, very impressive.
Well, I thought the Tampa Pro was a great show. Obviously, we had Kareth Baggio win yesterday, the 212 division. You're my guy. Oh my God.
You're a guy, brother.
Kareth is a great guy because he's worked his way up from like the ground floor. I mean, I started working.
What did I say?
He's got talent. He won the Team Universe Masters, division to get his pro card. People write those guys off, and I said, this guy's got the ability to do well. And he made a lot of improvements over the last couple of years.
I called him Dave, off the air. I have no problem saying what I labeled him.
Yeah.
He's a triple nobody. In other words,
he's a Rocky. He's a Rocky. That's it.
He won the show convincingly. He arguably he could have won Chicago. I thought he was the densest, guy up there. He had, as good, if not better condition than the two guys who came above him. They rewarded him here for having the best condition. But when I say triple nobody, I mean, he's, working with him, took him essentially from the Masters Nationals, right? I mean, if you had, right, when he won the Masters Nationals.
Not even, it was Masters like Team Universe. It wasn't
Masters Team Universe. So the point being that when he won the Masters Team Universe, if he had told people, I'm going to win one of the most competitive 212 shows of the year in 2021, people would have laughed at him.
Yeah.
This is he's a lot more impressive than people think because he has dense muscle everywhere.
Yeah.
That's a good frontal bicep, Dave. There's crazy V taper. He's got wheels.
He's from the New England area, in Connecticut, and Jose, had seen him, and Jose told him too the same thing. He goes, "Man, you're gonna devastate some people once."
Jose is always on the money. He told me like 4 months ago. He said this guy's winning shows this year.
Yeah. No, I knew it. I didn't want to get him too excited. You know how when you work, you don't want to get him too pumped up because But he's very grounded, and I think he's a really good guy too. Like he's just like a very humble. And I think that I'm so happy for him that he's going to the Olympia. Like I think I'm happier than he is actually.
Yeah. I thought, Dave, when he won, is I said, I wonder if Dave will go to the Olympia this year.
I don't. Let's not push it, but
we'll get another variant. And you'll be stuck home.
There you go. Right. Well, now they have the Gamma variant coming out, so I think out of Brazil or something like that. Well, anyway, I want to just congratulate IAIN Valliere and Kareth Badjo. Great job, guys, and great job for the whole lineup. It was really a great show put on by, obviously, Tim Gardner. They did a great job. The Tampa Pro has really raised itself up to, I think, a real top-tier level show every single year. And I enjoyed, even though I was home, I enjoyed watching the pictures and the videos and all that stuff. So, once again, we will do a full wrap-up of the entire show on Heavy Muscle Radio on Monday. For now, I am Dave Palumbo with Chris Aceto for another RX Muscle News Update.